what does balance look like for you now? So mentally, physically, and emotionally, after everything you've been through with the injuries and the COVID, the grad school, moving to Chicago, doing what you're doing now professionally, what does balance look like for Brennan right now?
It's funny because like I used to think up until recently like that was critical to have balance with social life, professional like pursuits, family. Family still it's gonna stay number one over everything. But I also recently heard like a couple different speakers like Scott Galloway, and then I can't remember her name, but she's a very successful like businesswoman, and they were speaking about how balance is kind of a buzzword and it's a little bit overrated when you're trying to do something that's important to you. And I think that actually is really insightful because balance, yeah, it's important because like you want to have, your mental clarity, stay even keeled, be able to handle a lot of different scenarios and environments. Um, and build those mental skills, as we're on this podcast talking about, mental health and sports psych. But um, for me, balance is literally all about doing the things that I like to do and trying to fulfill potential. So, like professionally, what I want to eventually do is go to PT school and work as a physical therapist. That's the goal right now. Um, and that's a pretty lofty goal. Like those, it's tough to get through a program and then work. And yeah, balance is important because like you want to keep your social aspect, your friends around you, maintain those relationships, also with your family. Um, but when you got to go all in on something, you got to go all in on it. So um, balance. Obviously, I have to exercise. Keep my body in a good state. Right now, I have some goals. Last year, I was able to compete in High Rocks, which is a racing competition for those that don't know, and that's a really fun outlet. That actually kind of goes back to the last question, like how I stay involved as an athlete. So, like the fitness and exercise is also like incredibly important to me because it contributes to the other areas. Like I need to stay strong, good energy levels, and be able to do the things that I need to do in my varied environments. But like balance, I try, but things aren't always balanced. Like some things are always like taking precedent over other things. So you just kind of go with the wave and take it one day at a time.
Okay. So it sounds like you're able to maintain some semblance of balance through what I'm going to classify as like imbalance. And what I mean by that is you have some things that are very important to you in your life, right? Maybe that's your job, maybe that's your education. At a time, it was playing basketball. So that word balance, like you said, is kind of a buzzword, right? And if we imagine sort of one of those golden scales where we have like, you know, gold on one side and lead on the other, right? And it's perfectly balanced. I think that that's kind of a hogwash ideology, and you might agree with me.
I
Here's
do.
why. Because balance doesn't have to mean everything is perfectly 50%, 50%, or 33%, 33%, 33%. Balance to me, and it sounds like to you, means that we're prioritizing the things that are important to us, and those things are going to take up more time than other things. But it sounds like even though you have these things that are very important to you that are taking up the lion's share of your time, you still have other things that are helping to keep you in balance, like your family, your social circle, playing games with your friends on the weekends. These are things that help us avoid burnout. So everything is not perfectly balanced in terms of the amount of energy and time that we spend participating in them, but you still have some things sprinkled in that help keep you like leveled out. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I actually think that's a very articulate way of putting what I said because you're 100% right. Like the things that are important to us, we put time into it. Some people it's all about the job. Some people it's all about travel. Some people it's all about like hobbies. But yes, like, and maybe that's where the buzzword and the bullshit comes from. But like, if you tell a student athlete in their second or third year in school, like try to keep everything balanced, stay even keeled, like give energy to a bunch of different things. It sometimes can be perceived as like I need to have everything level with like that scale that you were saying. And maybe that's just not what we mean. And maybe that's where we kind of get off on the balance thing. Because what we really mean, I feel like, as professionals and in the working class, like the balance is you do the things, most of your time go towards the things that you want and you prioritize. And then the other things just don't get as much energy or as much time. And there's nothing wrong with